Once again, Bert Salazar. I'm the host for the Bert Salazar Retirement Show. And this is the only retirement show on Facebook Live, so I'm excited to be here with all of you once again. I've been getting quite a few phone calls in the last couple of days, actually since last week, because of what's going on with the market again. And it just seems to be that, Americans are just not learning. There was a tremendous drop due to the bear market. And then, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the market started to go back up again. And everybody thought that everything was going to be fine, that the market was not going to drop once again. And it has been dropping now significantly. I think it's around 23,000 from a high of 29,000. So for those of you that have been following the market for a long time, and I've been following the markets for years, if we go back to 1900 through the end of 2019, the market, the overall Dow had never done more than 5.06%. So, over 119 years, the market has just hovered around 5%. But if we go back 20 years, let's say 1999 through 2019, that 20-year period, the market, the Dow was on the average was 4.29%. So think of it this way. You have a 20-year period in which we actually went through the longest bull market in American history, which lasted anywhere from 11 to 12 years. And still the average return for the Dow, was 4.29%. I mean, you can get on a 7-year annuity, fixed annuity, guaranteed annuity, you can get a 3.5%. So for less than 100 basis points, you can avoid all the liability, you can avoid all the volatility, and you can avoid the market crashes, especially as you're getting closer and closer to retirement, or for many of you, you may be in retirement already. And, one of the things that I always try to convey to my online community, and this is something that I convey to my clients on a monthly basis, is that you have to be able to understand risk, because it's about risk and reward. It's about playing offense and then playing defense. So if you're in a football team and you're a football coach, if you devote all your time to building your offense and you do nothing for the defense, you're probably going to put a bunch of points on the board, but you're seldom going to win a football game, because you need a strong defense in order to get you to the Super Bowl and to eventually win the Super Bowl of retirement. So one of the challenges when I do audits for many of my new clients that come in and they bring me their entire portfolio and everything that they have done, is that the vast majority of their assets are not protected from stock market or interest rate volatility or even stock market crashes. And that's why, over the last, I would say since February, and now we're in May, so the last couple of months, the market has dropped so much money that it actually wiped out all of the gains that all of us had in early 2020, all of 2019, all of 2018, and all of 2017. Totally wiped out. So what it took you 3 years and change to build, it actually went away in approximately 3 weeks, but then it recovered somewhat and is back down again. So what are some of the things that you, as someone who's getting closer to retirement, need to start thinking about? Number one, you got to start thinking about the retirement kill zone. And the retirement kill zone is that kill zone that I call, which are the 5 years preceding retirement, and then the 5 years post-retirement. So that 10-year window is very, very important and very critical for all of you to pay attention to, because any financial mistakes that you make can cost you and your family dearly, not only now, but also for the rest of your life. So having the ability to manage the downside of your retirement assets is one of the most important things that you can do, because at the end of the day, most of us are going to spend many, many years in retirement. You have to be able to plan for 3 decades in retirement, And that means that you're going to go through the go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. I'm not going to go into details about what they mean, but every 10-year period, it's either a go-go, a slow-go, or a no-go. So the older you get, the more sedentary you get in the way that you do things. And then obviously your health is not going to be as it used to be. So, having money and making certain that you don't run out of money before you run out of life over a 30-year period is almost an impossibility unless you use a self-created pension via annuities that you can purchase. And there are different things that you can do from an annuity standpoint, because the biggest challenge for Americans is how do you mitigate stock market volatility? How do you mitigate interest rate volatility? How do you mitigate the propensity to consume and the invading principal at a higher rate than you should from a business perspective? How do you mitigate taxation? Because you have no control over that. I mean, look what is happening today, and the trillions and trillions of dollars that we're putting on the books pretty much on a daily basis that we're going to have to pay for at some point in time in the future. For those of you that may not know this, January 1 of 2026 is going to be a critical date, because when we wake up January 1 of 2026, taxes are going to be higher than they are today, because today's tax rates are going to sunset December 31st of 2025. So you have to start thinking through all those issues. And not only is the issue of, or the risk of living too long, but also the risk of living with a disability. So the longer you live in retirement, the higher the propensity and the higher the opportunity for you to have some kind of a long-term care issue. By the way, if you're husband and wife and you're age 65 today, there's a 70% probability that one of you is going to have a need for long-term care at some point in time in the future. And the cost of long-term care is actually increasing at 3 times the rate of inflation in the United States. So, how do you think you're going to be able to manage all of those booby traps with the current knowledge that you have in the retirement accounts that you have available to you? The probability that you're going to be able to do that successfully is going to be slim to none. So what can you do? Well, number one, you got to be able to triple your income in retirement, because most of the income that you're going to need in retirement, you haven't earned yet. So it's the income that your assets are going to be generating at the point in time that you retire that are going to be able to propel you to hopefully make it through retirement without running out of money and without running out of assets. The challenge is that you're assuming all of that liability. So you're assuming the longevity risk, you're assuming the disability risk, you're assuming all of the eroding factors that include the erosion and the value of your money due to taxes, inflation, stock market volatility, interest rate volatility, lawsuits. I have a client of mine that ran a red light a couple of years ago. Didn't kill anyone, knock on wood, so that was good. But he did injure a couple of individuals, a couple of people, and the 2 of them filed lawsuits. And my client has already spent almost $100,000 in attorney's fees in order to mitigate the lawsuits, the 2 lawsuits. Now, is it going to cost him money at the end of the day? Of course it is. Now, some of the assets that he had were not fully protected, but he did have a lot of money with me in annuities and in life insurance, and those are totally protected from creditors. So, he was able to do some good things, but he was a business owner, so he always had, cash flow coming in, and he didn't protect the rest of the assets the way that he should have. But those are things you're going to have to deal with in retirement. And the challenge is that, saving for retirement is fairly easy. Anyone can do that. If you're pretty structured in the way that you save for retirement, you put money away in your retirement accounts, you try to invest for growth, you try to minimize your risk while you're maximizing the rate of return, you're putting in as much money as you possibly can, and you're hoping that by the time that you retire, there's going to be sufficient money there for you to have a comfortable retirement life. Now, hope is not a financial strategy, so what I try to do when I engage a new client for the first time is creating a tactical retirement blueprint that will actually put on paper the steps that each and every one is going to have to take in order to mitigate all of these issues that I've been talking to you about. So now when you're in retirement, the rules of engagement totally change. So it was very easy to save for retirement. What is really, really difficult is to make it through the retirement life, because when you retire, nobody cares how much money you have, because at the end of the day, it's like, in a football game when you get to halftime. Nobody cares what the score is at halftime. There's only one score that counts, and that's a score at the end of the game or at the end of your life. Because you could have been doing very well at halftime. All of a sudden, you make some financial mistakes in the 5 years following the year that you retire, and perhaps even longer than that. And those mistakes can devastate the best retirement plan available in the marketplace. So, how do you deal with that? So how are you going to deal with all these issues that I have just walking you through? Chances are you're not going to be able to do that. And if you do, chances are you're going to fail miserably. Now, some of you are still investing in the market and you're close to retirement and you're hoping that the market is going to recover, and then it recovers a little bit and then you'll go, you see, Bert, I told you so. And then when the market goes down, you don't call me and say, you know what, Bert, you were so right. But, some of you have taken matters into your own hands, and you have actually reached out to me so I can put together for you an annuity portfolio as part of your overall retirement portfolio, which enhances the distribution rate of your retirement assets on a guaranteed basis that you cannot outlive. So now there are many different ways, and I don't have the time to go into today. There are many different ways to structure a retirement portfolio using a self-created pension and or an annuity, but that would be a conversation for another day. So, those are some of the things that I enjoy discussing with my clients, and a week does not go by that I don't get 2 or 3 phone calls from my online community, although over the last couple of months, I've been averaging anywhere between 15 and 20 phone calls, just asking questions and picking my brain as to, what to do next and how to recover from a market downsides and so forth. Always remember that if you lose 40% in the market in 1 year, it takes a 67% rate of return in 1 year to get back that 40% that you have lost. So in other words, it is much harder to climb a hill than to go down the hill. And I've never seen the market do 67% in 1 year. So if you say to me, Bert, what if I were able to lose 40%, but then I'm getting an 8% rate of return every year thereafter? How long will it take for me to recover from that 40% loss? And the answer is it's going to take 6.6 years for you to recover from a 40% loss. And that's at a very, very good and consistent 8% rate of return. Now, you've seen what the market has done. You've seen what the market has done over the last 20 years, 4.29% for the Dow. I mean, are you kidding me? So why are you risking all of those assets and not receiving an adequate rate of return for that risk? Because if I'm going to invest my money in the market and I'm going to be totally naked, and you know what I always say, only when the tide goes down will you know who was swimming naked. Then if you're investing all that and your assets are totally at risk of losing all of your money, then what are some of the things that you can do in order to protect that? Because if I'm going to take that kind of a risk, number one, I want to make certain that I get at least a 3% rate of return for inflation purposes. On top of that, because of the fact that inflation is not tax deductible, I'm going to have an increase of another 1 to 2%. So after I pay taxes on that gain for the year, that I could have a net of 3% to keep me at inflation. And on top of that, I'm going to be asking for a 3 to 4% volatility risk offset. Because if my money's going to be at risk, I want a higher return. So if I'm going to be investing in the market and I am not getting between a 7.5% and an 8.5% on a consistent basis in the market, then why am I investing in the market to begin with? Because I am not able to maintain that risk association between risk and reward in order to maximize the internal rate of return on my assets based on the risk that I'm taking for those assets. And if I'm getting closer and closer to retirement, I want less and less risk. And last thought that I want to give you today, I have never had a retiree that has refused a guaranteed paycheck. As a matter of fact, I have never had a retiree that has said to me, Bert, I don't like my guaranteed paychecks. And I have retirees that have public pensions, that have private pensions, that have Social Security pensions, and that have self-created pensions that they have done with me by the use of annuities. And for those of you that don't know this, an annuity is nothing more, nothing less than a guaranteed payout. It's a guaranteed paycheck for life. So if you worked in the public sector and you have a guaranteed pension when you retire, that's an annuity. If you worked in the private sector and you were one of the lucky ones and you have a private pension coming into you, that's a guaranteed annuity. If you're collecting Social Security benefits, that's a guaranteed annuity that's coming in every year regardless. And then last but not least, if you have retirement assets, whether they happen to be qualified assets inside a 401k, IRA, 403b, a SEP, a simple, whatever it may be, or a non-qualified asset, which may be traditional mutual funds, CDs, money markets, bonds and stuff like that, then you do have the ability with either one of those types of assets, either non-qualified or qualified, to create and to put together a self-created pension using annuities. And then my job as a retirement strategist and a tax planner is to figure out, what blend do we use? What kind of straddle do we use for your annuity portfolio? So the best way to determine what percentage of your retirement assets should be in an annuity, take your age from 100 and use that number as your annuity retirement straddle. So if you're 60 years of age, 60% should be in a guaranteed annuity portfolio. If you're 70 years of age, it should be 70% in a retirement guaranteed annuity portfolio. Now, when it comes to the straddle, once I know exactly how much money we're going to be investing in annuities, I'm going to ask you two questions in order to put the portfolio together for you. Question number one is, what do you want your money to do for you while you're alive? Question number two, what do you want your money to do for you once you're dead? Once I get an answer for those two questions, and I can design based on the software program that I use that will actually match the individual person and their goals and objectives to the best annuity portfolio that we can find in the marketplace. It may be a combination of an immediate annuity, a fixed annuity, a fixed index annuity, a combination portfolio. We could use deferred annuities where we're going to start the distribution at certain ages. So we could start perhaps at 65, 70, and 75, and then ladder those distribution annuities so we can continue to stay ahead of inflation and have additional income coming to you and your family at a point in time when you need it the very most. So I'm hoping that you're enjoying. I've been doing these retirement Facebook Live webinars and video conferences for all of you now for 6 weeks. And we've done 6 shows already, so this would be number 7. I'm hoping that you're starting to see the benefits of reviewing these retirement shows that I'm doing on a weekly basis on Wednesdays for each and every one of you. And always remember, if you need to get a hold of me, you want to pick my brain, you want to schedule a 40-minute video conference with me at no cost or obligation, because if you're a part of my online community, I am here to provide value to each and every one of you. If you want to use my services at some point in time in the future, that would be entirely up to you. But feel free to call me at area code 786-766-1042. You can also send me an email at Bert, B-E-R-T, at bertsalazar.com, BERTSALAZAR.com. And always, always, always remember that my goal to all of you, for all of you, and to all of my clients is to kind of help all of you change the way that you see things, because when you change the way that you see things, the things that you see change. So once again, thank you very much. Welcome again to the Bert Salazar Retirement Show. Please make sure that you hit like, that you make some comments, that you share, so that way the entire community and a lot of your friends can have access to this retirement show on an ongoing basis. And I'll talk to you soon. Talk to you next week. Stay safe, and you take care of yourselves and your family as well. Bye-bye.